This is your host, Celeste, with a quick astrology and action story. ABC suspended Jimmy Kimmel, the comedian who hosts a late-night show, at the direction of the Trump administration. And the president posted on his Truth Social soon after that NBC and CBS should follow suit with firing Jimmy Fallon and Seth Meyers, two other late-night comedians. Stephen Colbert's show has already been canceled. So this drive to silence critics is coming from the administration. On September 17th, Mercury in Virgo opposed Saturn in Pisces. Mercury communicates, Saturn's blocks. But Mercury is in Virgo, the sign of the common person. And people around the country realized this threat to their freedom of speech, and millions have canceled all the products regarding this company. Disney is who owns ABC. So millions of people are canceling Disney subscriptions, ABC subscriptions, Hulu subscriptions. People are canceling Disney cruises, boycotting Marvel Studios, and more. The people are enraged, and we are in eclipse season. When you walk through a door, you turn around and there's a wall. Disney effed around and they are finding out. Their stock has dropped 7% within a day, and I think we can make that 20%. So let's go. And now, this week's episode. Welcome to Celestial Insights, a weekly podcast that brings the stars down to earth. I'm your host, astrologer, coach, and intuitive Celeste Brooks. My purpose is to provide practical, unique, and insightful guidance to help you navigate the energies of the week like a boss. Hello, this is Celeste of Astrology by Celeste, and on this episode, I will discuss the astrology for the week of September 21st, 2025. Last week's episode was called To Kill a Mockingbird, and the story showed up in the news. Charlie Kirk, a podcaster, was assassinated, and afterwards there was a campaign to target anyone who joked about his death or said anything unflattering about him. Someone put together a website called Expose Charlie's Murderers. Now they've changed the name to Charlie Kirk Data Foundation, but this really brings in the theme of To Kill a Mockingbird, because many people just quoted the podcaster verbatim. And dozens of people have lost their job. There's 63,000 entries in this database where people's names and where they worked. He was very controversial, and now he's being made into a martyr-type figure. He was killed a few days after the Pisces lunar eclipse, and Pisces is a sign that rules martyrs. Your cosmic advantage begins with the Wise Skies digital calendar. With descriptions for every planetary and lunar event, all levels of astrology enthusiasts can enjoy the calendar on any device and now in many languages. With this superpower in your back pocket, you will be fully equipped to understand the astrological weather any day of the week. My good friend and collaborator, Tiffany Herlick, creates this calendar every year, and I use it daily. I highly recommend it. Use my coupon code for $10 off The code is ABC 2025. Let the universe have your back with the Wise Skies digital astrology calendar. The theme of this week is Clockwork Orange, and there's three big things I'd like you to think about as we navigate this week. The first is that today we have a solar eclipse at 29 Virgo. Virgo is mutable Earth, ruled by the planet Mercury, which governs communication, transportation, and commerce. Virgo's job is to bring order to chaos. At its best, it can take in a lot of information, sort it, organize it, categorize it, and then be precise in the delivery about what is important and needed to know from the information. It separates the wheat from the chaff. In the body, Virgo rules the intestines. It takes the important nutrients that need to be digested and separates away the waste. Discernment is a key Virgo word. This sign rules data systems, farmers, and farmland. It's also called the maiden. And there's themes, women being independent, not needing to conform to society. A solar eclipse is a new moon, and it can be a new moon times 10 or 10,000. This is going to be a very big new moon for the collective. With that 29 degree of Virgo, you may notice systems collapsing, power outages. Also rules workers, the rank and file, whether it's the military or the post office. A big story that may come to a head is about South Korea. They had sent hundreds of workers to the United States to work at Hyundai battery plant, training American workers. And there was a raid at the plant, an ICE raid. One of the engineers detained in an ICE facility had paper and pen, and he drew out this map that clearly detailed the floor plan of the facility, details about how people were treated. There's human rights violations, quotes from workers who say they knew they were doing something wrong. I got a hit months ago that the Olympics may be moved from the United States to another country. We'll see if something about that is announced. These people had visas, and despite that, they were put in detention centers. So it's a huge international scandal that has caused a lot of problems. And this solar eclipse is in the United States' ninth house, but within a few degrees of the midheaven. The midheaven of the United States is at 1 degree of Libra and represents the public reputation and the president. The ninth house has to do with foreign affairs, legal matters, higher education, religion. So this is a foreign affairs topic. Charlie Kirk, the podcaster, was killed on a college campus. This solar eclipse is opposite Saturn in Pisces. Now, Saturn is retrograde at 28 degrees of Pisces, so something big has happened already. Saturn limits, blocks, disciplines, is the Grim Reaper. Around Friday or Saturday, there was likely a Sun opposite Saturn event. So notice what that was. The Sun is an authority figure. What leader is up against limitations? At this eclipse, Mars is at 29 Libra. Mars is in its detriment in this sign where it can act in ways that are extreme and ineffective. Libra rules diplomacy. Mars competes. This is another reason I think the United States is going to potentially lose the Olympic Games or some kind of competition. I'm taping this on the 16th of September. I think we'll know by the full moon in Aries, if not before the next solar eclipse in Aquarius next February. The Olympic Committee met on the 17th and 18th of September, and I am sure they are talking about visitor safety in the U.S. and what happened to the South Korean people. There may be additional news about the Jeffrey Epstein case. And the South Node is in the sign of Virgo, suggesting there's some kind of loss related to Virgo topics. A big company might have announced a big layoff on Friday. And the North Node amplifying Piscean themes. Pisces has associations with homelessness, drug abuse, people who are at a disadvantage. But I think things are going to start moving fast right after the solar eclipse. There's this big burst of energy, and an action is going to be taken, and there's going to be a lot of talk about it. The tarot card for 29 Virgo is the Ten of Pentacles. And this is a card of wealth and abundance, family, legacy, inheritance. Having an urgent task to complete, a man does not look to distractions, is the Sabian symbol. So this suggests it's really important to focus in on any task that you're trying to get done. Don't let yourself be distracted. You might hear someone saying to someone else, your lack of preparation does not constitute an emergency on my part. There are themes of people gathering all kinds of documentation, files, evidence, and then the next sign is Libra. Libra rules justice, and then they're filing some kind of lawsuit. There may be some exposure about state surveillance. This solar eclipse, where the sun and the moon are both at 29 Virgo on September 21st, 2025, starts a new moon phase family, a 27-month cycle where the sun and the moon come into hard aspect to each other every 9 months. And there can be stories that have multiple pivot points. This cycle is great for planning. So if you start something now, like a new health activity, Virgo rules health. At the first quarter moon, the sun has moved into the sign of Cancer, and the moon will be in the sign of Libra at 0 degrees. That's on June 21st, 2026. Sometimes these move between signs when they're at the very edge of a sign barrier. The full moon of this cycle, where the sun is in Aries and the moon is in Libra at 1 degree, will be on March 22nd, 2027. The last quarter moon, the sun in Capricorn and the moon in Virgo, December 20th, 2027. They'll both be at 28 degrees. Use this cycle to plan and set goals. The next thing I want to make you aware of is that Mars will enter Scorpio September 22nd through November 4th. So at the eclipse, this big burst of energy, Mars is at the 29th degree of Libra, the sign of its detriment, and then moves to 0 Scorpio, where it is at home, where it can do what it does with ease, which is have energy, drive, and focus, be strategic, persistent. There's a sense of emotional intensity. Scorpio is a water sign. And this is excellent for research, investigation, any work requiring stamina and depth. Therapy and healing arts are also things that Mars can be used for in a positive way. At its worst, Mars in Scorpio can be driven to be very controlling, manipulative, and vengeful. There can be a diplomatic conflict with Mars at 29 degrees of Libra, then it moves into Scorpio and people go to war. This can be literal or metaphorical. The first thing Mars in Scorpio does when it enters the sign is start creating a yod formation, which is a chart pattern. With Mars at the tip, it makes a quincunx to Uranus and Gemini on one side, Neptune and Aries on the other side. So it's focused energy that could find a creative solution to a really complex mathematical problem, is something I get with this. The next thing Mars does is it squares Pluto in Aquarius. And Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto are all retrograde. So this could be something from the past coming to life where we get the information. Scorpio can bring things up to our attention that were secret before. And Mars square Pluto is some of the most volatile and explosive energy. So this is something to be aware of. People may be extremely tense and ready to blow a gasket. Or you may notice people attacking whole groups of people. I think some people are going to find out their partners are watching porn. Something from the Epstein files could come out that's very disturbing. Pluto is the ruler of the underworld, so taboo, deep stuff could come to our conscious attention. A blockbuster article about government surveillance somewhere in the world that comes to light. And the thing that's concerning, the moon meets Mars and then squares Pluto. So the moon rules people. So there could be a group of people finding out information that is very concerning, or it could be a group of people in a life and death situation. This week is one to really pay attention to your surroundings. Mars and Scorpio can be great energy to be focused, determined, and get stuff done. The last thing I want to make you aware of is that Libra season is from September 22nd to October 22nd. So the sun will enter the sign of Libra, beginning the autumn equinox, where there's equal parts day and night. Libra is cardinal initiating air. Its I statement is I partner. This energy strives for balance, harmony, justice, fairness. There's associations with peace. Air connects and communicates. It's a great time for an honest discussion with your partner about your sex life, because Mars rules sex and it's squaring Pluto, which has a theme, the shadows we'd never want to talk about. If your partner asks for something unusual, this is the energy. I'm calling this the past is present kite. As soon as the sun goes into Libra, it opposes Neptune in Aries and makes a grand trine with Uranus and Pluto. This grand trine is in air, and the sun spotlights things. It focuses us in on things. And because some of these outer planets are retrograde, that brings themes from the past, but the sun brings it into the present. I really get with this see something, say something energy. Big Brother is watching. This is an important time to just be aware of your surroundings and use your intuitive skills to stay safe. The episode is called Clockwork Orange. Clockwork Orange was a movie back in the 70s that followed Alex DeLarge, a teenage gang leader in a dystopian near future. He and his friends were committing heinous acts of violence for fun and entertainment. He's caught by authorities and he goes through this experimental procedure, a type of aversion therapy that causes him to feel sick if he thinks about violence or sex. Essentially, he's stripped of his free will. The title comes from the idea of making human beings into a mechanical object, a clockwork orange. They look outwardly natural, but inside they're controlled. So there's themes of free will versus control, morality and redemption, youth and violence. Notice if we see a robot emerge on the stage, a humanoid-like looking robot, there may be some new story about the robots replacing people or people's jobs. Clockwork Orange also brings themes of groypers. Groypers are these mostly between 10 and 24 years old young men who spend all their time gaming and are very nihilistic. I would recommend you Google it to learn more. They're nihilistic. They're like anarchists. And the man who allegedly killed Charlie Kirk is thought to be one of these groypers. Kirk and this guy, Nick Fuentes, who's the head of the groypers, had this big rivalry. You may be hearing more and more about this subgroup. You may see things where people are encouraging people to talk with their children about what they're doing online, trying to understand more what is going on, because this stuff is very concerning. These people are detached from reality, and Saturn is the clock, and a big theme is the sun opposite Saturn for the eclipse. This could be about Donald Trump having some kind of karmic thing happening. There will be a big focus on Libra topics, and the midheaven of the United States is 1 degree of Libra. The sun will be spotlighting the president, trine Uranus in Gemini. Gemini rules paperwork, Uranus upheaval, and people, whether they have a visa or not, now their people may be losing their visas if they say things the government doesn't like. People have their phones being looked at if they want to come into the United States. It's just making it a very inhospitable place, with the sun trine Uranus and Pluto in Aquarius snooping on all of these people's phones. This grand trine in air, and opposite Neptune in Aries. Neptune rules peace, Aries competition. That makes me think there could be something about the Olympics. The sun is in fall in this sign. It doesn't like to be here because the sun is ego, and ego just wants to do for itself. But Libra wants to partner, find win-win solutions, be diplomatic. Notice if we see some leaders unexpectedly resigning, it could be the CEO of your company, creative and life-giving, but it's trine Uranus. There could be sudden upheaval for a leader. If you are embarking on a new journey, experiencing a major life event, feeling stuck, trying to make a difficult decision, or just looking to make positive changes, astrology can provide life-changing insights. There are several ways to work with me. You can come for a 60 or 90-minute astrology consultation depending on your needs. Engage in longer-term cosmic success coaching, where we work together on a 3-month basis to help you overcome blocks, improve your life satisfaction, build better relationships, accomplish your career goals, and understand yourself better using the tool of astrology. Or mystic mentoring if you're an aspiring astrologer and want help with chart analysis techniques. Go to astrologybyceleste.com to check out my offerings. If you have any questions, you can email me at celeste@astrologybyceleste.com. On Sunday, the word of the day is urgency. We have a solar eclipse at 29 Virgo at 12:53 p.m. Pacific time. That 29th degree of crisis and decay, you may suddenly get a feeling like you have to do something. Notice if you have a lot of nervous energy. Virgo energy can be a little agitated. Decluttering, cleaning, organizing may be things that you want to do with this energy. I don't tend to set intentions as much on a solar eclipse. These are karmic. You may find it better to just watch what evolves. The moon enters Libra at 2:40 p.m. Pacific time. Libra is cardinal air. This is a good time for going to an art museum or doing something artistic or cultural. If people have been quiet, they may suddenly start talking as we move from Virgo to Libra. Or if someone said something critical or harsh, moon moves into Libra, they apologize and try to bring things back on an even footing. On Monday, the word of the day is surge. Mars is at 29 Libra as we start the day. You may have been indecisive over something. And when Mars enters Scorpio, you may get a sudden surge of energy and drive. There's this energy of a powerful rush forward. The moon and Mercury meet at 7 Libra, so people are likely getting information about something. The sun enters Libra at 11:19 a.m. Pacific time. The sun is a leader archetype, so your CEO may call a town hall and tell you something about them selling off part of the business. Mars severs and separates. This is intense energy. So on Monday, do a body scan. See how you're feeling. Use that martial energy with precision. On Tuesday, the word of the day is empathy. On this day, Mars in Scorpio quincunxes Neptune in Aries. Quincunxes are an unstable aspect. They're both at 0 degrees. And you have to release and let something go. This is going to be interesting to see how this shows up. I just got this image of oil on fire in some way. Hopefully, this is not some kind of embargo. And the Libra sun is opposite Neptune in Aries. There's a lot going on in the Middle East, and Israel attacked Qatar. Qatar is wanting the Arab nations to come together in a defense. So hopefully this is not going to bring some kind of oil embargo. Now the Libra moon squares Jupiter and Cancer. They're both at 21 degrees. And I get the image of someone asking you to do something and you should have said no, but you're people pleasing. So you're just saying yes. And now you've got too much on your plate. Jupiter is abundance and Cancer rules the stomach. You have too many things to do, but you said yes to something. And then the moon is opposite Chiron, both at 25 degrees. Moon in Libra, Chiron in Aries, and you maybe have a headache because you have so much to do. And then the sun makes this grand trine in air. The Libra sun, trine Uranus retrograde in Gemini, and Pluto retrograde in Aquarius. It'll be really interesting to see what happens on this day with this air grand trine. There's likely going to be some kind of announcement. Libra is an air sign that communicates about, it could be technology, aviation. It will impact people because the air signs are humane. They rule people. There could be a lot of fast talking, a lot of wind, a lot of change, and it feels like something is reversed. with the retrogrades. On Wednesday, the word of the day is overload. Mars in Scorpio is quincunx Uranus, both at 1 degree in Gemini on this day. And then the moon enters Scorpio at 2 a.m. Pacific time. The moon does not like to be in this sign. It's a sign of its fall where it can go to emotional extremes, hold on to inner rage, be seeking vengeance. Then Mars in Scorpio squares Pluto in Aquarius, both at 1 degree. This could be a big power outage. The Houthis have been trying to cut cables in the Red Sea, and they've already cut some and caused issues. So there could be some kind of outage. Power goes down. And then the moon squares Pluto. I get the image of overloaded circuits with this. This is very volatile energy. So just check in on yourself. For some people, this can be a task you really want to get done. You have energy, drive, and focus. You put on your thinking cap and you will not let it go until you achieve your goal. On Thursday, the word of the day is miscarriage. There's a waxing crescent moon at 18 Scorpio at 2:25 p.m. Pacific time. The waxing moon, we can see the light. Now, the sun's in Libra, so I got miscarriage of justice. But some story is going to come to light. Could be about power dynamics, big wealth, debt. These are Scorpio topics. We could see something, hear about Jeffrey Epstein or one of his other rich people, the actions they have taken. On Friday, the word of the day is anarchy. We have a Sagittarius moon beginning at 2:36 p.m. Pacific time. So people can get all angry and mad with Mars and the moon in Scorpio and feeling like the moon enters Sagittarius, a fire sign, and they maybe want to go out and spray paint all over. So notice if you live in a city or you may be seeing on the news a lot of mischief or destruction, this could be a day where the angry use with misdirected energy, just do stuff just to do stuff. The moon in Sagittarius opposes Uranus in Gemini. This is hot rods, speeding, sideshows, people gathering for mischief. On Saturday, the word of the day is defensive. The Sagittarius moon squares Venus in Virgo at 10 degrees. I feel like Venus in Virgo is some mother saying, oh, it's not my son. He wouldn't do such a thing. Kind of energy, being defensive because Mercury in Libra is sesqui-square Uranus retrograde in Gemini. Their child did something that caused some upheaval. Maybe graffiti. I really get images of graffiti. Notice if you find yourself getting defensive, this week is very intense. Take good care of yourself. Get as much rest as you can. That's it for this week. Feel free to email me at celeste@astrologybyceleste.com with any astrology and action stories, or let me know how the themes are playing out for you. Take care, and I'll catch you next week. Thank you for listening to Celestial Insights. To learn more about my work, please visit my website, astrologybyceleste.com, where I offer personal readings, horary consultations, cosmic coaching, group events, and classes to help guide people to higher levels of fulfillment. You can also find me on Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, and Facebook at Astrology by Celeste. If you enjoyed Celestial Insights, please help others find the show. Follow, rate it 5 stars, or write a nice review. I would so appreciate it. I'm astrologer, coach, and intuitive Celeste Brooks, and I'll be back next week.